Hiring help is not going to just magically change your business, but if delegating consistently feels harder than just doing it yourself, these 7 mistakes might be the reason why. Make sure you watch till the end because I've saved the worst mistake for last. Mistake number 1 is hiring somebody without realizing what exactly are they going to do. Which sounds really obvious, but more times than not, I've seen people either not hire because they're unsure what someone would work on, or hire for vague and generic job descriptions. They'll have a job description that says, our marketing generalist is going to be in charge of marketing efforts and work on videos and ad hoc tasks as required. And this list is so painfully vague that it doesn't let anyone involved know what is actually expected of the role. And while that might be great for job descriptions, although I would argue maybe not, when someone actually is working for you, you want to have ready to go a list of repeating and recurring actions that you want that person to take. Whether you're hiring a freelancer or an employee, I personally find it very helpful to have clear deliverables as the baseline. So for a contractor, that might mean I want website page number 1 edited. I want website page number 2 designed. I want website page number 3 designed and written. These are specific outcomes that I can then give to that contractor to get a proposal, and that then guides our entire engagement. With employees, it's very similar, except rather than one-off projects, I'll likely be giving ongoing or repeating tasks. This might be, for example, every Friday, I want you to schedule out the next week of content. Every month, I want you to outline at least 3 flash sales we can do to our email list. Every day, I want you to respond to all sales inquiries in our sales inbox. All these are repeating, recurring, routine events that you want to specify and clarify, hey, you are in charge of this. Now, if you don't yet have any tasks recorded in your business and you're not quite sure what each person's going to do, that's where things can start to feel unnecessarily hard. So we want to sort that out first. And to do that, I actually have a free course for you in the description below with this 8-step exercise that will guide you through how to start figuring out what your tasks are, totally for free. Check it out below. Now, unfortunately, you can go through all this work and define all of the tasks and responsibilities for each person on your team, and that would be great. But if you don't write it down, it's all for nothing, which brings us to mistake number 2, not having a task management system. I can't tell you how many friends I've had who have come to me after hiring for the first time, and they say, Layla, I can't stand my assistant. She can't get anything done. She's constantly asking me questions. It feels like I spend my whole day just telling her what to work on. I never get to my own work. And when we dig deeper, come to find out that the only way that assistant knows what to work on, what is important, what's not, is through a one-on-one conversation with the boss. And if this sounds like a situation you're in, fix this by creating a shared task management system. One spot where you have every single thing you need to do, including the stuff from fixing mistake 1, so that everybody can reference them at a click. And just to be clear, you do not need to be a tech person in order to set up a shared task list for your team. Whether you're working with people in the field, people in the office, remote or in person, having a shared to-do list is something you can set up within the next 30 minutes. If you're not sure which tool will work best for you for your shared to-do list, I've got a video up here that goes through the common options based on your personality type. But let me just say, it's very simple. Having a task management system is one of the simplest and highest impact things you can do today to make your delegation experience a lot better. But speaking of experience, that brings us to mistake number 3, which is when you actually do hire, you're not hiring with experience in mind. And, maybe this is just a mistake I've made again and again and again. But as a small business, oftentimes you are limited, let's just put it that way, on budget. You don't have the highest budget in the world. And so when you're competing with the startups or the banks or the financial institutions for talent, it can feel like a real stretch to find the right fit. And this is really referencing back to mistake number 1 of not having a task list. But once you have one, I want you to look at it and compare to this person's experience. Have they done all these things before? If they have done all or a majority of those things, your life is going to be way easier, just speaking from experience here. Whereas if they have not done any of those actions before, you are signing yourself up for a potentially unlimited training project for this new person. Oftentimes what I've experienced is that you might save $5 to $10 an hour by hiring somebody who has no experience in the given role. And that's great, except when you start considering how long it takes to train that person in terms of meetings, shadow sessions, mentorship, revisions, it's going to be anywhere between 100 to 300 hours of upfront effort on behalf of you and your team. So if you think about that math, you really want to make sure you're betting on somebody who's going to stay for the long haul, because in almost all circumstances, I have found it to be much more effective to hire somebody who has direct experience, even if they are harder to find, than to invest those 300 hours up front. Because if you accidentally sign up for 300 hours of training when you thought you were just getting an assistant who could help you right out of the gate, no wonder that you're going to feel like it takes more work than just doing it yourself. But experience alone is not enough to make for perfect delegation. If we really want people to focus on the right things, we can't just give them tasks, we need to give them metrics. And not having metrics for your role, it is a rookie mistake I've seen time and time again. Whether you're hiring for a virtual assistant, a copywriter, a customer support agent, or something else, there are absolutely key metrics you can define to help that person know, are they doing a good job or not? The key metric you define should be customized for that person in that role and be a result of a job well done or a job poorly done. So if you have, for example, someone who is making YouTube videos, you might make a key metric of how many watch hours does that YouTube video have, or how many people like the video, or how many people subscribe to the video down below, for example. And those could be used as metrics to help the person making the video know if they're doing a good job or a bad job. Even if you're hiring for a general virtual assistant or some other EA role where it's a little bit hard to measure, you can still make metrics, and the video up top will help you go through that if you are stuck. But don't get too metrics obsessed, because our next mistake is actually only focusing on performance metrics. And this is a mistake I have also made, unfortunately. If you focus too much on key metrics, you can sometimes forget about the core values and communication culture, the other stuff that matters to you in the workplace. And especially if you are the boss, you are essentially getting to curate your team. Who do you want to hang out with all day? Who do you want to work with? And if you get someone that performs really well on metrics but doesn't match the cultural values, that can be just as toxic as someone who's underperforming but is a good culture fit. I actually had an example of this in my own team where we had somebody who was doing a pretty good job on their metrics. They were, achieving all of our goals and everything was fine on that front. But these are the core values of ProcessDriven. And this person, while achieving all of their key metrics, was not making work human because they would not respond to people's messages. They were not embracing responsibility because they'd say, yeah, I'll do it, and then not follow through on their actions. They wouldn't decide to decide, meaning they'd make all of the problems they're facing someone else's problem. And I could go on and on and on. But what we had was essentially someone who was myopic. They were focused just on the metrics, and everything else was let to go by the wayside. And it'd be easy to blame this person for being too focused on one at the cost of the other, but ultimately, it's my job as the boss to set this balance in place. And I don't think I did a good enough job. So learn from my mistake here. And when you're evaluating, is someone doing a good job, don't just look at metrics. Evaluate based on other criteria that matters to you as well. Now, speaking of creative criteria, the next mistake I've seen is folks getting too caught up in the money side of hiring. Now, to be clear, compensation is important. You should pay people well and a living wage and all of these other things. But what I have come to realize is paying more is not necessarily the recipe for higher quality talent. And likewise, paying less is not necessarily saying you're hiring somebody with low skill. While I think it's ethically important that we provide a living wage for the people we work with, benefits and compensation is kind of a creative model we can play in. For example, let's say that you're trying to appeal to talent that used to work for a software company that was venture backed, where they had unlimited paid time off, but they weren't allowed to use it. They made $80,000 a year and they worked nonstop. When they're entering the job market, they're going to be looking to get $80,000 out of the job market or more. But that doesn't mean the compensation needs to be in dollars only. You can play with other variables as well, such as how much time off do they get? How much unpaid time off do they get? What benefits come with the job? What discounts can they get? What flexibility do they have? What culture are they signing up for? There are so many non-monetary benefits you can bundle into a package that can make sure you get the right people for the role. There are many people out there who would rather make $10,000 less a year, but then be able to work 40 hours less per year. So whether you're hiring freelancers or employees, make sure you're considering what you are spending in exchange for what you are actually receiving, because it'll let you find the person who's the better fit for you as a service provider or an employee versus just generically going off of budget. Because speaking from experience here, spending more only guarantees you're spending more. It doesn't guarantee you're getting the right fit. Now, I saved the worst mistake for last. And if you are guilty of this, know you are in good company, because my very first hire, I made this exact painful mistake. But the mistake is hiring for nice to haves rather than things that actually need to be done. Yeah. Let me tell you a story. When I was starting with ProcessDriven, I was doing system building projects and tech setup one-on-one with clients, and it was extremely time consuming. Every project would take 20 to 50 hours, and I'd be training teams along the way. This was all before YouTube and before our program foundations, and it was all one-on-one and custom. And in those early days, I realized, damn, I need help. I'm overwhelmed. I've got way too much to do. I need someone to help me. And you know what my smart ass decided to hire for? Not client fulfillment, not support, not deliverables that I needed to create for those client projects that were swamping me. No. This smart nugget decided to hire for social media.
What?
Now, fast forward a few months later, I'd actually fired this virtual assistant. I said, sorry, we're good. Turns out she was committing unemployment fraud. So it was a whole drama, hell of a first hiring experience, which might be a topic for another video. Make sure you have your contracts, friends, because that covered my butt. But anyway, fast forward a few months later, I ended up trying to hire again. And this time when I hired for what I actually needed, the things I knew led to success and value in the business, which for me was the client work itself. I hired someone who helped me with client success, admin work for clients, and facilitating the account management. And this was the hire that changed everything. It wasn't that my hiring process had changed, my task management hadn't changed, I hadn't really changed. I just focused on the right activities when I actually hired. Now, fast forward 7 years later, I still use the lessons from this VA and customer success experience today in my business. Just yesterday, I was talking with my team member about the new hire we were planning to make at ProcessDriven. And we were talking about the job description and what do we want to have this person do. And we were working through this exact challenge of, what activities could this person do that would either free up time or directly generate revenue so that way it isn't just a cost center. And even though I'm not an HR expert, I found this to be so helpful that I actually put together a free online course on delegation in the description. So if you want to go through kind of what I go through every time we're looking to hire, you can steal that for free in the description below. But now we have a new problem, because if we learn how to delegate effectively, if we don't make any of these mistakes, our life has gotten so much easier. We're going to have more free time and we're going to be able to delegate more and more work. But the problem is to keep track of all 7 of these mistakes and make sure we never make them again. That's a lot of information to keep track of. And as you add more and more team members, it's only going to get more and more complicated. So the question becomes, how do we keep all of this organized as our business scales to where we're going next? And the answer to that is in this video right here. The ultimate guide to systemize your business will show you how to not just start delegating, but automating and systemizing so you're ready to grow beyond what you can store in your memory. Check this out next, and don't forget to check out the free course I have for you in the description below if you want to get started with delegation. Until next time, enjoy the process.